You're now tuned into the freshest podcast in the 209. It's time for the Squadcast.
Like we always do about this time.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Delta Squadcast, episode 1. I'm your host Armando, and I'm here with my buddy Joe. Say what's up, Joe.
What's up?
And today, our topic is aliens. Are they real? And before you watch this episode or listen to this episode, however you're watching it or listening to it, be sure to follow us on Twitter at the Delta Squadcast 209 and on Instagram at _Delta Squadcast. So let's get into it. Joe, do you think aliens are real?
I mean, I see no reason as to say they couldn't exist.
That's very true, but could we say, okay, so there's no reason that you could say they don't exist, but
Yeah.
could there be a reason to say why they do exist?
I mean, yeah, because for one instance, there's this one statistics equation called the Drake equation, and it takes into account all the stars in this galaxy and all the percentage of habitable planets, like ours, that could be in either one of their solar systems, and came out to there's a possibility of 6 billion Earths that could be in our galaxy that could also have sustained civilization's life. But I mean, we don't know, but it's still a good indicator that
so it's
a probability that there is life.
So it's more probable that there is life than there is not life.
Yeah, it's statistically impossible for there to not be no life.
Yeah,
no other life than ours.
Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and even considering as much as we've explored, as far as space exploration, you could say we've done a lot, to be honest, but really it's nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about it, our universe has been around for 13 billion years.
That's true.
And,
that's true. And that's just our universe.
Yeah.
And there's multiple out there.
Yeah.
So that could be, well, could that mean there are universes that are younger than us too?
I feel like if it's possible, if it's similar to how galaxies would be created, which is kind of like a miniature universe in itself for us, because we have a bunch of other, constellation stars, other stuff going on in our galaxy, that if there are multiple universes, then it'd be in a similar expanse as ours.
Mm-hmm.
Then they could start the same as ours.
For sure. What do you think about aliens visiting Earth or having been to Earth?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I could see as for why some of the videos released by the Pentagon, let's
talk about that video real quick.
Okay.
So the video that the Pentagon talked about was actually released. I did a little bit of research. It was actually published by the Navy in 2017, but it was kind of written off because they didn't say we don't know what this is or anything. But it comes up again. What, did it come out this year?
I think it came out they did another release of it or something, or it was put in an article that in 2018 or it was.
It was more recent than that. I know it was, but it wouldn't. I think it was this year because it was around the time that Corona had been getting big. I hope everybody's staying safe out there with that coronavirus.
Yes, please.
And even if you do get sick with that coronavirus, you can watch us talk about whatever. Hopefully you don't. Be sure to wear your mask, socially distance.
Unlike us idiots.
But to be fair, I'm with Joe all the time. We're good. We know each other. We're around the same people, so we should be all right, hopefully. And we take precautions when we go out in public. We definitely wear our masks.
Yes.
Getting off topic, but back to it. The video the U.S. Navy published in 2017. Did you watch the video, Joe?
Yeah, I did watch the video.
What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, because I'm not used to seeing video the way that the what was it? It was the Navy, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it was the
with the thermal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the thermal, and it was also because I'm just not used to not seeing the object move.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because even though they say that it's moving, and not seeing like a background behind.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
It was just like still in the middle of the screen, and I just couldn't like.
Yeah, well, like I thought that was really weird because like it wasn't really moving around; it just went like straight.
Yeah.
The whole time.
But then there was the one that rotated, and I was like, if that's in the air,
true.
that's kind of an impossible maneuver to pull off with today's technology.
Like even then, it was kind of hard to like detect what it was because like the thermal, you know, like it wasn't really a clear image, but like you definitely see something.
Yeah, like it's definitely something that was occupying space right there in that location.
So would you consider that credible evidence of aliens being real?
Well, I mean, because another off-topic crazy conspiracy thing is that the government isn't telling us everything that is, you know, made.
That's true.
That there are other technologies that we could have that isn't made known to the public or is slowly being trickled down to us or whatever. Those are just other thoughts. But, I mean, it's not out of the question to say that, I mean, the government made it, that it could, I mean, make anything we don't know.
That's possible. And I can use that as a segue to lead into another subtopic, which is Area 51. So, we know what Area 51 is. It's an Air Force base, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an Air Force base in Nevada where they develop new like planes and stuff.
I think it
it's a development facility.
Yeah, it was
right?
a development for stealth fighter jets.
I knew that. Yeah, and they still like develop new aircraft out there, don't they?
Yeah.
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 So, but why is it that Area 51 is so secretive compared to other Air Force bases? Or like, are there not other developmental facilities similar that are not nearly as like tightly under lock?
Yeah, I mean, if Area 51 got out, that's the least tightly locked. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so those other ones, there could be other ones that are out there, and they just did a better job of covering up those because those were more important than.
That's true.
But Area
Storm
51,
Area 51, right? Storm Area 51.
They did that already.
Oh yeah, you're right. We missed it. Yeah. I'm probably like a year too late.
I'm pretty sure it was long. I think it was 2 years, 3 years.
Area 51. So we know what it is, but that still doesn't like account for the fact that there have been multiple UFO encounters around there. And I think isn't Nevada kind of like a hotspot for UFOs? Because I've definitely heard like multiple things about Nevada in the Area 51.
Well, I mean, it's Nevada and almost, not to be overly general, but most of the Midwest.
Yeah.
You know, that gets these.
Mm-hmm.
And that like reports them more, or you've heard more about from like the 1970s.
Well, like if you really think about it, they're in areas that are like less populated.
Yeah.
Like Nevada is mostly desert. The Midwest, there's a lot of like just like open land and like farmland and stuff. And like that's where you get like the reports of like UFOs crashing in cornfields and like crop circles.
But I want to take you to the point that UFO stands for unidentified flying object.
That's true. True.
So
It's a broad category.
So I mean, compared to like if like in the Midwest, not to say that everyone there has seen a crop duster or not, but see how those planes are in the propeller, and it's like a different design, and then you see a different kind of object that's going, and it's going like really fast in a smooth, like linear fashion. Mm-hmm. Not to be like a whole bummer on the alien thing, but it doesn't always have to be aliens.
That's true. No, well. Again, like UFO stands for unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's an alien.
But I mean, just for that respect, it's not like we have that much spacecraft. Like if there's an image in space, or like overseas, just because you can't quite always determine. But if it's like in space and you have photo, imagery like from the space station that's still up there.
I don't really know as far as like encounters that have happened in outer space. Do you know of anything that's happened in like with people on space stations or anything?
Well, because there was the whole moon landing thing that everyone wanted to get out, and what was it? It was reports of what they were seeing that didn't make it, or like didn't get
that wouldn't correlate, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I think like for part of the reason why I would say the whole moon landing thing was so fake was because they cut out certain parts where it doesn't make sense for what happened next.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But, I mean,
I believe that.
And it's just accounts that they don't want to record or have people know, but it's kind of strange.
So, going back to Area 51 and it being a test site for new aircraft, we know that highly advanced aircraft gets created here, but where did these ideas come from? So that also begs the question, does the military have aliens or alien technology in their possession? And could it be at Area 51?
Cause I think that's honestly where you get people who believe in the aliens that abduct people, you know, and then the people who believe in aliens that could just be out there.
That's true.
You know, because I don't really know. It's not like I honestly trust the government. I don't think anyone really trusts the government.
100%.
And to expect them for them to tell us that they're not using it, only because of just how shady they've been acting recently anyway.
Mm. You don't. I get what you mean. You don't want to say they do, but you wouldn't put it past them if they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
It's like a gray area kind of thing.
Have you had any personal experiences with aliens, Joe?
No.
No, you haven't?
No.
I did. Once, it was a long time ago, I think I was maybe 10, 11. My grandma liked to watch the stars, really early in the morning, 4 or 5 in the morning. So, I stayed the night at her house, and she woke me up early in the morning so I could go and watch the stars with her. And so we were out there, and we were watching the stars, and it was going well, and, we could see everything. And, there were stars, and I saw this one. It was really bright. I thought it was a star.
Yeah.
And it was kind of moving, but really slowly at first. But it moved far. So think about it if you're looking at the sky. So it moved a couple inches, but if you think about it in relation to the sky, that's kind of far. If you can see that physical distance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it was moving at a steady rate, but not hella fast or anything. But I remember I told my grandma, I'm like, that's weird. Keep looking at that. I gotta go to the bathroom. So I go to the bathroom and I come back outside and she was like, I think we just saw an alien. I'm like, what do you mean you think we just saw an alien? She was like, after you went inside, it kept moving like it was, and then it zipped left, and then it zipped right. And then it zipped left again, and then disappeared.
Where was this?
This was at my grandparents' house in North Highlands. Yeah. They don't live there anymore, but when they did. But yeah, it was crazy. I was like, wow, did I really just see an alien? I think that personally was what made me think I believe aliens are real. I never had doubted it. But that was my...
That was when you went from just, casualness to it, and then you just thought,
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, yeah, they're real.
Yeah, they're here.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's go back to the idea of aliens among us, or, aliens existing within our society. Do you think there's aliens that could be among us right now?
I mean, my answers are kind of... basic, but I see no reason why not.
Mm.
It's just, if we can think that there are aliens that can travel, millions, billions light years through space, and they came upon us and they're like, let's see what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
If they could do that, then I see no reason why they can't just, mimic or
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It's just cloaking, except just look. Yeah,
that's true. Or do you think they? I feel alien hotspots specifically might have aliens living among. I don't want to say among people, but living on Earth, possibly.
Well, let me stop you right there real quick, because if you want to think of like aliens living among us, like you would, what was her name? Who went and lived with the gorillas?
Oh, Jane. Well, I don't forget her last name.
I forget her last name too.
Yeah.
But if you want, it might be better to think of aliens as kind of researchers, where they're allowed to just, travel these long distances to other places that they don't quite know as well.
That's her name, Jane Goodall.
Jane Goodall? I thought it was that.
Yeah.
We
You ever watch that movie, what's it called? Gorillas in the Mist?
I don't think so.
It's a good movie, you should watch it. It's about that. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
But I mean, you should look at it kind of like in a similar situation with Jane Goodall living amongst the primate, or the gorillas. And just that they're researching, that would be like the main reason why they would be here in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like another alien species is gonna just come over and be like, bro, get the fuck off the planet.
That is true. Well, then let's consider this like ancient aliens, like we were talking about earlier. So maybe they aren't among us, but
they could be, but I mean,
they could
those
be.
would be
Yeah,
like
that's
the
true.
main reasons as to why they would.
Yeah. So could they have been here in the past?
Yeah, because I mean, the difference between the way we see our own past is only a few thousand years, and considering, relative to how old our own universe is, why can't another species that, if it took us it took us a few million years to actually fully evolve, but if at some point in the universe another species did that, if they evolved in a similar rate as us to like where we are now, and they kept going, they might be able to, meet us, and we'd see it as a few thousand years as a long time, but
but it's not that long to them.
Yeah,
because their lifespans would be relative, right?
Yeah. So, it is a possibility.
So, considering that, do you think... Okay, we may not know that aliens are out there, but do you think they know we're out here?
Do they think do they have, the same kind of thought process about
life
as we do?
Yeah, do you think, they're oh, they're aliens, but we don't know they exist, or they're we know they're there. They
know that we're here.
They know we're here, but we don't know they're there.
Yeah, okay,
exactly,
I see what you mean.
Exactly.
I see what you mean. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of like some invader type shit when you don't tell someone immediately that you're there when you know they're there, or send I'm just taking this back from our own past human history where we did that to other people.
Yeah, that's true.
And
well, yeah, considering that we have done that in our own human history, could they have not done that in their alien history, or
that's true.
Us, their alien history? Yeah,
because they would have their own different culture, or what we would think of it as a culture, and their own different thought process as well.
And considering that, we were saying, how old did you say our universe was?
13 billion.
13 billion years. So we know there's universes that are older than that, which means shouldn't they be more advanced than us?
Well, I mean, you also have to think, only because I can only think of this relative to our own human development, that what if they did what we did as a comparison, they in Rome, they destroyed their own government and set them back centuries from the progress that they built themselves up.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Not to say they couldn't get there again, but it's hard.
Well, how do we know that they aren't there already or still?
Yeah.
So if we consider them with advanced technology, wouldn't they, we have the ability to see hella far, in space right now.
Yeah.
But again, that's nothing compared to what's out there. But them having been around longer, wouldn't that give them the time to develop something to see further than us, and possibly know where we are because of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much, that's a lot of my answers there. Like, I'm not gonna disprove or, like, doubt, like, almost any of this, because, I mean, there's a possibility that it could happen. That it is there. And, I mean, there's no reason to doubt that fully.
I believe that, yeah.
There's no reason to just go out and be like, you're fucking stupid, you're wrong. That's, like, incorrect information.
Yeah. I feel like there's just as much evidence to prove that aliens are real as there is to prove that they aren't real.
Yeah.
Because you could say that there is life out there, because, like, it's definitely possible. There's definitely more universes than ours, and there's ones older than us.
Uh-huh.
So you could definitely consider there's a possibility of life out there. Or you could also entertain that we are the only life out there because we really don't know.
But then, I don't know, that just doesn't really go with just, how I think.
Yeah, I feel that.
Like,
it doesn't really go
I'm
with
thinking of it,
either.
like, in the matter that if there are, like...
I feel like it's kind of
so
a closed-minded way to think.
Yeah, and also that there are so many different possibilities that can happen, that, like, the infinite number of chances that anything could happen kind of thing, that, like, how could it be that we were the only life? Especially when you can, like, what was it? There was one test that they were trying to create, not artificial life, but they were just trying to stimulate the same process of, like, an evolving DNA chain. And they did it, because they came back and they developed RNA, but not full DNA strand yet, in that development. So, I mean, and that was just with, like, basic, like, chemical elements. That kind of combination can go on anywhere, just given the right constraints and situations.
So that brings, like, an interesting idea to mind. So we know how to, like, replicate DNA and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So do you think aliens have the ability to, like, create, like, clones and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we can create clones.
That's what I'm saying. So do you think there's a possibility that they could create, like, their own human, possibly?
Are you trying to say that aliens created us?
No, well, okay. I'm not personally trying to say that. I didn't even think about that, but that is a good point, because I don't even remember where it was, so don't quote me on this. My information, I'll be 100% factual. I'll admit that right now. But I did read somewhere that we are, like, 80% primate?
80%?
I don't know, not 80%. A large percentage.
Yeah, large percent.
A very large percentage.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
But there's also a percentage of us that is not accounted for, that we don't really know where it comes from.
Okay, I see your point.
That's what I'm... So,
yeah.
What could that be?
Yeah, like, you're saying they use some of the theoretical aliens use some of their own DNA.
Exactly.
As a starter. Yeah, I see what you... Yeah.
And that also goes back to, like, the idea of, like, ancient aliens. So, Ancient Aliens, if you haven't seen Ancient Aliens, I suggest watching it. It's on the History Channel. If you're ever at home, like, during the day, like, during the weekday, that shit's on 24/7. Like, you can find an episode, just sit down, like, in front of the couch. You can sit there and watch that for hours. The dude with the crazy hair.
Oh my god.
I love that guy. I love that guy. But no.
That guy's hella funny.
He is hella funny. But, so what Ancient Aliens is this show that discusses the idea of aliens possibly existing on Earth.
Interacting
with humans in ancient times.
Yeah.
And, when I used to watch the show when it first came out, when I was like, I don't know.
I saw the first episode.
You saw the first episode?
The Egyptian one?
Yeah, that was
where they were
episode.
talking about the bird, like the bird that could actually, like, fly.
Yeah.
First,
I do remember
flying
that.
object kind of thing.
So, Ancient Aliens, when I first saw it, I just kind of, like, brushed off, like, oh, there's only stupid, like, TV shows about aliens. But the points they bring up stand out. Like, they, like, leave you with questions, because when you think about these things, like, there's not really a very logical explanation to it. And like the one I was telling you about earlier is the one that stands out the most to me. So we have these ancient civilizations that have built like massive structures that have lasted forever. Like, but we know some structures that we build like now won't last like another 30 years in the future.
Like if left.
Like unkept.
Unmaintained.
Yeah. But we know that these structures built by an ancient civilization will like remain kind of like forever, because when we came across them, they were already ancient.
Yeah.
Like you think about the pyramids in ancient Egypt. Those pyramids were ancient to the ancient Egyptians. Like, they're older than some of the oldest things we have on record. But nobody really maintains them. They like maintain themselves over the years, and like they've existed for this long. But
what else is the thing in the pyramids case anyway? This is kind of the side note. It's
very
just
good.
Bigger, like larger, denser material. Mass quantity
That's
of dense
true.
material.
That's true.
Well,
consider that. So larger quantities of dense material would be hard to move, right?
Yeah.
But how would they be able to move that?
Well, I mean, there's always the pulley system.
That's true.
Theory. They tested it out. They said it worked, but it's just a lot of bricks. It's just a lot of stone.
Yeah, that's true.
I just can't. Even though they used like probably millions or hundreds of thousands of slaves to build it anyway.
Oh, for sure.
But, yeah. Anyway, go on.
But like, that also proves that it could not be aliens. There's also the possibility that it could have been done like that, and I'm not putting it past that either, because that definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's just a reasonable explanation, and
But there's tons of structures, kind of like the pyramids, that have existed for like a long time and without anybody maintaining them. And that does make sense. Like the denser material has like less possibility of going away, and I get that would make sense. Like there's ways to construct stuff, but it would take a long period of time, and especially with slaves, that'd make it a lot easier. But
I mean, you'd still lose a lot of them, and you can't constantly maintain that workforce.
Oh, for sure.
Especially for the period of time you need to go over to build it. But
oh, for sure. Yeah. How long do you think it took the pyramids to build?
I mean,
100 years.
Manpower wise, that like several tons stone, plus actual engineering on the inside.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And to make it all symmetrical like that.
Yeah, that's
like it's insane to think about, because like now I could see it a little more.
Yeah.
But then like that's a lot of like doing just to do like.
Oh yeah.
It's like almost impossible to think about how they would have been able to do that all like just by hand.
Yeah.
But it's definitely possible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just another thing that humans just back in the day, like in the ancient times, like in Egypt, were fundamentally the same as they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Like so they still would have had the same mental capacity to conceive like advanced engineering type,
for sure,
to build those kind of structures. So I mean, if you see what we have now and you compare it to back then, it's just kind of like this. It's like its own Empire State Building.
Mm-hmm.
Or Tower of Dubai at the time.
Like, it's just insane.
No,
It totally makes sense. But it's just insane to think about. So, another thing with, I don't want to say ancient aliens, but evidence of aliens and, sightings have been around, forever.
Oh, yeah.
You get references in medieval times, Egyptians. Weren't there something with the Aztecs or the Mayans?
Yeah, Aztecs, Mayans.
All well-known ancient civilizations.
Renaissance
Paintings.
That's what really kind of made me thing.
Yeah,
'Cause,
that's
if it was in the paintings, like it's not like
there was something.
There's something of note that had to be there. And legends, I could see why people would think like based on like like the Herculean Hercules, and that kind of legend that he was
totally
half god,
yeah,
and it's really like he was half alien, and
so well, like bringing that up, do you think it was possible that if aliens did appear on Earth during like these ancient times and made themselves known to ancient civilizations, do you think they were revered as gods?
I mean, if you have enough advanced technology, and you should like if we went back now and we showed a person an iPhone, be like, what's this like thin
that's what I'm saying
brick like showing images for?
That's what I'm saying.
But
like, so like that's what also kind of makes me think that they could have gifted us some kind of technology to help create our structures that have lasted this long.
I think if they were gonna gift us any kind of like technological advancement, it would be the use of energy. You know, because we ran on coal, fossil fuels, and all that, and now we're getting into solar power and geothermal, and what was it? There's like an underwater windmill kind of thing going on using the waves, and it's just how we like harness that energy to use for ourselves.
So, do you think they could have like influenced like ancient forms of energy, like construction of like aqueducts, possibly?
I mean, compared to the what like the show Ancient Aliens would, and they talk about portals and all that. I don't know about that.
Portals,
sometimes like.
Ancient Aliens does get out there sometimes.
It does.
You just gotta ride with
it. In the beginning, they started mellow, but then once like people got into aliens, it just fanned.
Yeah.
It just blew. But anyway.
Still interesting though. Check
it out.
Still
is, yes.
Yeah. Daytime television.
Back to the comparison with Ancient Aliens, when they talk about how like the Stonehenge was used as like a energy, like geothermal energy kind of thing.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
And or whatever kind of energy going like through the earth or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I don't really know about, but it could be something similar to that. If we tried to like explain to someone else right now.
Well, it's funny you bring up Stonehenge because last semester, I took a King Arthur class, and because that's all like focused in that area.
Yeah.
Well, the legend. One of the earlier legends of King Arthur is that it was Merlin who built Stonehenge and used his magic in order to transport these giant stones that were in Africa to England. And he was the one who established that. But I'm not sure where I heard this from, but I did read it somewhere. Some people compare Merlin with like an alien.
That's fair.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's not far to put it out there.
Yeah.
He's this guy who knows more than most people do.
Yeah.
And actually, even because in the class I had to read about Merlin, and it talks about when he was born, he was given the knowledge of the future and the knowledge of the past, but he didn't know when he could die. That's the only thing he did know, but he knew everything else. So when considering that, it's not hard to consider Merlin as an alien because he knows everything that's going to happen, everything that already happened, and on top of that, he's magical.
Yeah. Can I bring up how you say he was born knowing the past and the future?
Yeah.
I want to say it's kind of like, that sounds kind of like how we teach now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we taught history or past,
mm-hmm.
and then we're also teaching ourselves what to predict in the future. And I think that's what he could see at the time.
For sure.
If that's what I think you're kind of like referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of how I reasoned it.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting because I never really thought of Merlin as that. But then when I read about it, I was like, it's not hard to put it out there that he could have been.
Oh yeah.
If Merlin's even real.
That's true. If the whole Arthurian legend's real.
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's some truth to that, but we'll get into that another time.
There's always a grain of truth in every myth.
Very true. Very true. of course, there has to be some truth to aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's where I think the less conspiracy theorist ideas came, where it was like, yes, it's the possibility that life can develop on its own. You know, like it's a possibility. It's not like a factual possibility, but it's a reasonable. It's a reasonable. It's a testable. Yeah. That it could happen. That it has already. You know, and then you just kind of like build up from there.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I wonder, like, why do people think that aliens would want to observe us at all? Like, if they...
That's a good point.
If they're already, like, seeing another species or civilization, which is entirely possible, that, you know, before, like, if they could just, like, observe us for a little bit and be like, oh, okay, this is probably the track they're going to go on. We don't need to, like, fully observe these people. They just, like, glimpse it, scan it, go. You know?
So, yeah. So, thinking about that, do you think... And I didn't even write this down or even think about this, but do you think that because of that, aliens could, even if they're not here, or if they had been here before, is there a possibility of them coming back?
I think if they...
Or even...
Wait, do you mean coming back where we recognize them, or coming back just to see how far we've gone before they make themselves known?
Both, possibly, but
okay.
That could also bring up, are they already back? Like, do they come here frequently, but remain, like, under the radar?
I mean, I feel like the only reason the main public would know that there's another civilization communicating with us would be if the world is ready to handle that collectively, you know? Because basically... It's like you're putting the whole of Earth as its own nation, country, you know, compared to another completely separate, as we see our own countries and nations now. And it's just like, are they ready for us to, like, be known and, like, be kind of peaceful about this, or are they still kind of, like, freaking the fuck out?
That's a good point. That also makes me question... If aliens made themselves known to us, do you think they'd be hostile?
I mean, the only reason they'd be hostile is for our own resources.
That's fair.
And it's not. It would be anything. I think speciesist.
That's true. I feel like they might be hostile because of our response when we see an alien. Like, what the hell would you do if you saw an alien?
That's true. Like, if they observe how, like, our own television, you know, movies and how. Yeah. It depicts us.
Well, like I know, like if I saw aliens,
it's really showing an instance where aliens are here and we're attacking them. Like
that's true. Well,
but modern, yeah.
Okay, well, like I know, like if I saw an alien, I'd be scared as shit. Like I'd be like, "There's an alien, man!" Like I want to like fight it or run away from it or something, you know. But
I think.
Or do you think like it'd be more like a ET kind of vibe, like friendly and like not really trying to mess with people, but just trying to like exist?
Well, for me, when I was younger, I kind of like grouped it where there's like the kind aliens and then like the evil aliens, you know, like good bad kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I just kind of thought like, okay, if this person's hostile to me, like I'm gonna either try and fight my way out, or I'm just gonna like try and hide. You know, because I don't know what the fuck's going on. But then, like, the more I thought about it, whereas, like, if they see me, and if I just kind of, like, relax, and I'm just like, hey, like, it's just another normal thing, then I feel like they'll get that, and they might even be kind of confused, you know, to off-balance them, and then they'd be, like, less hostile because they're like, huh. Like,
that's fair.
Like, this guy's not, like, freaking out.
Yeah.
You know? That's my whole... If I see an alien, that's what I hope I act like. That's how I hope I act.
Yeah.
But,
well, yeah. I feel like... I don't know. Do you think, like, there's this kind of thing where, like, aliens know we're there and they're like, oh, don't go mess with the humans?
Oh, yeah, like we're, like, the whole, probably the ostracized solar system.
Yeah.
Because we're so like violent.
These assholes are out here killing each other, polluting the airways and stuff. Like
killing themselves.
And that's what I'm saying. So, like, Okay, that brings it up. Like, what if aliens were here and they see we're destroying the Earth, fucking shit up, and like they're like, we don't want anything to do with you, and they're not gonna come back.
I mean, that's a fair assessment.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we would deserve, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they could also teach us. But then again, I could also see why they wouldn't want to influence us and let us develop on our own. And because I think that's the whole thing where you have to realize what works and what doesn't, and you have to learn to move past what bloodshed already occurred, and to make things better and improve. Because it's our own fault if it's been long enough and we haven't like fixed,
done anything to change it. Yeah,
and that's reasonable. They don't like we wouldn't deserve to even make it out there if we keep like threatening each other.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And yeah.
Okay, do you think that aliens have the possibility to fix the Earth?
Oh yeah.
That's okay.
If they're anything like what we were talking about earlier,
yeah, for sure,
then they could.
They have the technology.
They have the technology, but I think it's like a test of time kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, so that's what I'm saying.
You have to stand the test of time.
Do you think we were just like an experiment for aliens, possibly?
We could be. I mean,
like they're just watching us, and like who's to say that they could be doing that to other?
Well, I mean, we could be like a whole random. Not to say any Matrix type shit, but like like we're like the computer simulation if we're anything similar to them, and they isolated probably something within their own DNA code that they wanted to see how it would like go on its own.
Okay.
You know, it's that kind of thing. You get what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying entirely.
It's really weird and it's really like far out there anyway, but I mean that would probably just be what it is.
That's fair. Alright, let's talk about some aliens in pop culture. So, like, I feel like pop culture has this big influence of how we perceive aliens. More than anything else. More than science or, like, factual stuff like documentaries or anything. Because where was the first time that you remember really seeing an alien show?
You know, like Looney Tunes?
Yeah,
the Martian.
Like Marvin the Martian.
Marvin the Martian.
Exactly,
yeah.
Marvin the Martian. So that's the first time you think of hearing of a Martian or an alien.
Yeah.
But that's nothing like factual or like in a book or like research.
Yeah,
it's in a cartoon.
It's just and what people were talking about at the time, which was a big thing because they were, you know, it was big space exploration kind of thing going on.
Well, yeah, I remember the first time I ever heard alien was when my dad was watching War of the Worlds. I was like 3 or 4. And I'm like, yo, what's that thing? And he's like, that's an alien. I'm like, what's an alien? He's like, oh, they come from like other planets in outer space. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But it's funny to think about War of the Worlds because, have you seen War of the Worlds show?
I think I have.
With Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you think about those aliens, it kind of brings back to the idea of ancient aliens.
Yeah.
Because those aliens were, by the way, if you haven't watched War of the Worlds, go watch it because you probably won't know what we're talking about. But again, great movie. Highly suggest you watch it. It has Tom Cruise. I think it's from 2005. I think I got it on here somewhere. Yeah, 2005. Oh yeah, yeah, that's crazy. That was 15 years ago. It's actually a remake. The original War of the Worlds came out in 1953. Actually, I learned about this in one of my classes. The original War of the Worlds was a radio broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it was done like a news broadcast, so people were like losing their shit.
There's
like,
actually another movie, I think similar to that, called Invaders of Mars.
Oh, okay. Probably like spawned off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think that was one of the earliest mentions of like aliens in popular culture.
Yeah.
So, well, the way the War of the Worlds, the original one started, it was a radio program, and it was just done like a news broadcast. So when people heard it, they thought it was actual news broadcast, and they started losing their shit. They were like, "Oh, I'm seeing these bright lights and stuff," and like people were like calling into the police department and stuff. But the guy who did it had to come out and say, you know, it was just broadcast. It wasn't real. It's crazy to think about that. So, the first time that it came out, that was, what was that? Orson Welles. That was his name. He's the one who did it. I believe that's his name. Please don't get on me if I'm wrong. But when he put out this, it's funny, podcast, kind of, I mean, I feel like podcasts are definitely the future of, like, talk radio and stuff, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but, so, when you think about that, like, 1953, that's pretty early as far as, like, popular culture and radio goes. So aliens have kind of been around since the beginning of, like, popular culture, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
And even, like, thinking about not as popular culture, it's been a part of society forever. We get, like, references, like, ancient stuff, and so let's move on to another idea. So, like, what do you think? Do you think aliens look like this specific, like, alien, you know, with a big head and, like, little body?
The Gray Man?
Yeah, the Gray Man. Exactly. Do you think that's what aliens look like?
No.
No?
No,
That's fair.
Not really.
Okay, and again, so I want to bring that back around to the idea of aliens in popular culture. Popular culture has ingrained this idea of what aliens look like to us. You know what I mean? So I feel like even if we saw an alien, we're expecting something, but it's not going to be that. I feel like that would scare the shit out of us more, even if we were to come into contact with
Well,
them.
think of it like this in popular culture. Because the alien was already something that was not of this world.
Yeah.
They wanted to still humanize it so people weren't automatically turned off to the idea. Because, you know, it's a possible way to, you know, make money, you know, to further a franchise of some sort.
Okay.
At the time anyway.
So, think about it this way. Like, from another movie reference, if you haven't seen it, I suggest you watch Paul. It's hilarious. Not a good depiction of what aliens might be like, just saying. Seth Rogen's in it, he voices the alien. That should be enough for you to understand why
But
it's
if
not
you
accurate.
believe that the government listens or takes alien advice, Paul is the movie to watch.
Paul is definitely a movie to watch. But I wanted to come back to that because do you remember when he was like, yeah, they printed my, when Paul was talking, Paul's the name of the alien.
Yeah.
Paul was talking, he's like, yeah, they printed my face over like lunchboxes and shit and t-shirts. So over the years, if we do happen to come into contact, you aren't scared of shit. You remember that?
Yeah.
So do you think that could possibly be happening?
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I just don't really think, like, not saying that they couldn't exist, but just saying that that would be, like, what we would encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in any... That's why, like, in modern movies, you're seeing a lot of different, like, shape, you know, larger aliens, like, weird...
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
Okay, well...
Wait, do you remember the movie Valerian, City of a Thousand Planets?
I did not see that movie.
That's, like, a really...
Would that be a movie you suggest to the viewer?
I'd suggest that if you're listening to this podcast, because it's kind of what our own society's looking at right now.
Okay.
And it's really... I thought it was a good movie, but yeah.
Other, like, I want to say, like, my favorite alien movie, for sure, is Aliens. Like, the, you know, Aliens with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite. But when you think about it, that's really the only, like, alien movie that I could think of that the alien doesn't look like the Gray Man.
Well, it's still got the oblong-shaped head, you know, the long...
Well, okay, it is. That's true. But, like, it's not shaped like that. It's, like, curved, kind of. But it's not big and round.
Yeah, it's not, like, as bulbous.
And, like, when we picture aliens, like the Gray Man, like, he's short. Those aliens were, like, bigger. But they, like, crawled around and they had tails and their blood was acidic.
Bro, that's, like, what you would... Like, how you would describe, like, a demon kind of thing.
Yeah, okay. So... I think it's funny, kind of, how I think that is probably like the top grossing alien movie that you can think of, the most successful. When you think of, when somebody says, have you seen Aliens or Alien, that's the movie you're going to think of, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting that how being named Alien, being specifically about an alien, when we think of aliens and their effect over pop culture, and this being the most prominent relating like movie to aliens,
Yeah.
why don't we think of them instead of the Gray Man?
That movie, that franchise, Aliens, I'm pretty sure also...
It is relatively newer.
It started as a comic, too,
Yeah,
like around 70s,
Yeah. I
70s,
think you're right,
80s
yeah.
kind of thing. That's when it was really popular.
Yeah.
You also got a lot of, like, an intro to horror, genre that, built itself up. And I think that was like the extraterrestrial franchise of horror.
Mm-hmm.
It's when, like, we make it out in space, we're there, and we're just kind of like, fuck, because there's, an alien that's gonna kill everyone on the shit.
Yeah.
And they also made it animalistic,
Yeah. Right.
like primal.
That's very true.
Not like the smart,
Not like technologically advanced or anything. Like their primary objective was to kill.
to reproduce.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It wasn't really like further advancing their knowledge or anything.
Yeah.
That's true. So let's go into other movies, references in pop culture. Have you ever seen Apollo 18?
I feel like I have.
Okay, so again, another movie I would suggest that you would watch if you like aliens or not. This one's pretty interesting. It's called Apollo 18. So it's based on it came out in 2011, by the way, but it's based on the final moon mission.
Yeah.
And basically, the whole movie is just was like recorded footage. So, like, it's supposed to be evidence of aliens actually existing. There's these astronauts from the U.S. that go and land on the moon. They go on the dark side, I believe, is the part that that's not visible to the Earth, the dark side of the moon. So they go on the dark side of the moon, and like they end up finding aliens, and they end up dying, and they all ended up dying because of the aliens. I forget what happened in the end of the movie, but they did all end up dying. But I remember that it was a top secret mission.
Yeah.
And they couldn't tell anybody about it because the government didn't want them to tell anybody about it. And they didn't know why. They didn't tell them why. They just told them it's top secret. You can't tell anybody. Don't let anybody know about it.
Yeah.
But I think there were three astronauts. All died. And then what the government said to their families or reported them dying was they were killed in an aircraft accident and their bodies were never recovered. If you watch it, it's really interesting because it's all like footage and you can see how it could possibly be real.
Yeah.
And they I believe they wanted to cover up Apollo 18 and say it never happened. And Apollo 17 was the last successful moon mission.
It's like a modern version of that. Except it's, it's pure fiction. The movie called Life. Yeah.
I like that movie. It was with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
was
movie...
the alien's name Marvin?
Was it?
I think it was Marvin. Was it Marvin?
Marvin.
Yeah, wasn't that the alien's name?
No, Life?
Yeah, what was his name? They named it something. Calvin. His name's Calvin.
Calvin?
Yeah.
We're thinking of different movies.
No,
with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds was in this movie, but it was horror. This was a horror movie.
Yeah, it was a horror movie, but like they had a name for it. Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah. So continue talking about that.
Okay. Anyway, it's where they get samples back from Mars, which is kind of like where we're planning on going now, anyway.
But that movie's interesting too because that alien was really intelligent.
Yeah, it was intelligent. Because it was rapidly evolving. Because it was in an environment where it had more nutrients. Because in its previous environment, it had to go with the base what it had.
But it got used to the air, didn't it?
Yeah, it adapted.
Yeah, it adapted because remember, they needed the air to survive.
Yeah,
because they were trying. That's how they were trying to kill it. Was like they could run out of oxygen, but it ended up not working.
And they left it out. They even left it outside the airlock, and it
found its way back in.
It survived because it just kind of like, I think it was mainly about the rapidness of how life develops.
Mm-hmm.
In organisms, and that was just kind of like a super accelerated version of that.
For sure.
And that's kind of like the most negative you could look at, like researching and finding new life.
That's very true. I believe that. But yeah.
And it's also a very negative ending because it's basically a parasite.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
and it made it to Earth.
It did that. Okay, that's what I want to say about the movie. I liked that movie because at the end that caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. The alien tricked the humans, and then because what happened was, spoiler if you ain't seen it, but
sorry,
they were trapped on the spaceship with the alien, but there were 2 escape pods.
Yep.
And the plan was there was a guy and a girl. And the guy was gonna take the alien
into the sun.
Yeah, and go shoot himself into space, into the sun.
Yeah.
And the girl was gonna go back to Earth
and tell everybody.
But the alien, I don't even remember how it did it, but it tricked both of them, and shot the girl that was supposed to go back to Earth into space, and came back with dude to Earth.
Yep.
And then
it lands, and the guy comes up and he sees.
And then the dude sees the alien inside the space, the little escape pod, and he opens it. And then a bunch of people start coming around.
I know. Yeah, everyone was going over there, and
that's how it ends.
That's how it ends. And it's just gonna spread.
But
fuck everyone over. Anyway,
that is a good movie if you want to watch it. But my conclusion is, I believe aliens are real. I believe there's evidence of them. How about you, Joe?
Yeah.
For sure. So, yeah, if you have any ideas about aliens or what you think, feel free to comment on YouTube or however you'd like to comment on Twitter or on Instagram. And I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at the Delta Squadcast 209 and Instagram at _Delta Squadcast. I hope you enjoyed today's show. I'm your host Armando. Thank you for watching. That was Joe. Say bye, Joe.
Peace.
All right. We'll see you soon.